That's the end of the headlines, though. Let's move on to the biggest stories, starting with coalition crackdown news. 2026 is a big year for elections. South Australia had the first of the elections of the year, which proved that one nation's particular brand of stupid chaos statements, specifically crafted not to help everyday Australians, but rather to help Pauline Hanson from ever having to do another regular job ever again, which in this day of job instabilities is kind of admirable. I mean, you need an employee who is able to adapt to the needs of the modern market, right? So even if those needs are like absolutely batshit crazy, you have to give her points for being this sort of flubber-like entity who has the ability to always be flexible enough to fit into any mold so that she can always be the most racist person in the room. And that really scared the coalition. It gave them a good shake-up. So much so that they went and changed the leaders of both parties, like they were redecorating for some kind of racist Christmas where your uncle is even more insufferable. Desperate to impress new opposition leader Angus Taylor has attempted to prove himself by showing the world that he isn't soft like Susan Lane or openly abhorrent like Peter Dutton. This isn't your granddaddy's coalition. Those voters, they all went to One Nation, so couldn't be. In an attempt to assert his new leadership style, Angus said he wants law enforcement to identify, track down, and deport those illegally staying in Australia, promising a coalition government would crack down on visa overstayers, deploying an ICE-style immigration task force, claiming there were 65,000 such non-citizens and that standards in Australia's immigration system had been eroded. You might think that I am being hyperbolic referring to it as an ICE-style crackdown, but to be honest with you, even Sky News is calling it ICE-style crackdowns. They even made it the main headline of this story because they think that it's a good thing. Such strange ideas that they have over at Sky News. Or at the very least, they know that it's going to get a decent collection of either angry clicks from both racists, happy thinking that something's being done, or from progressives sharing it on social media with a worrying amount of exclamation points in the post. The policy's plan is to take the pre-existing Australian values statement document, which is already signed by visa applicants, confirming that they will respect Australian society's core principles, including democracy, the rule of law, freedom of speech or religion, equality of opportunity, and that most nebulous ideas are fair go. So what are we even talking about here? They already have made a commitment. There is no need to enshrine this shit in the Migration Act and then make it the basis for deportation. That seems a little bit unhinged. His plan is reining in immigration on the basis of, quote, Australian values, end quote, and empowering law enforcement to chase up those abusing Australia's visa system. Really? We're doing this again. The whole Australian values shtick. This has never worked. Why would you do this again? Well, wait, hang on, sorry. It did work once. One time for like 9 years. But it was a different time when John Howard did it, you know? Like, the world was a very different place. Patriotism was not quite enough to send us into a not-war war for 20 years, you know? We had to scare up some boogeymen, right? And John Howard wasn't even good at the whole Australian values thing. He pontificated in his best nationalistic jingo that the 4 principles on which we have and will base our government are self-reliance, a fair go, pulling together, and having a go. Principles that he couldn't even stick to, even though he made them up. He should have made one of the values, fuck off, we're full. He's so committed to that idea. He lives it every day. Even now, he's committed to the idea. Listen to this old man just relentlessly pontificate about this stupid idea.
John, I agree with you. I mean, you will know that I was never in politics. I was never comfortable with the concept, the doctrine of multiculturalism.
If I was going to make up some bullshit principles and try to force people to live by them, I'd at least make them stuff that was easy for me, myself, to stick to. Stuff like, alright, let's see, a healthy disrespect for authority, especially John Howard, right? That one I think we can all stick to, no matter what side of the aisle you consider yourself on. Unless, it's someone in a high-vis vest, they can still enter any place without question. You will not be able to change our mindset on that, no problem. The principle of no worries. We don't need to worry about anything. Be it climate change or the loss of funding for science and the arts, doesn't matter. Hakuna Matata, baby! No worries. It means no worries, you see. Free up public transport. Standing clear from the doors on public transport so that people can get off before you get on. And of course, that most Australian of values, she'll be right. The national strategy for every problem, every crisis, and slow-moving catastrophe, she'll be right. I feel like those are some principles that we can stick to. I do kind of understand the fear of immigrants, and just between us, there was a wave of them who arrived here in like the 1700s and refused to abide by the local culture. If only the Indigenous people had a ICE-like task force to put these illegal immigrants into detention on an island somewhere, maybe like Rottnest Island, where then we wouldn't have to worry about the coalition floating a plan that many have compared to Donald Trump's ICE task force. Or another proposal, to screen travellers' social media accounts before granting visas. Are you kidding? Who have we become? Who have we become? Usually it takes 5 to 10 years for us to turn into America, but look at us. Look at us. We're smashing it through this time. This is like a speed run, Presumably looking not for signs of anti-Australian sentiment, because let's face it, nobody who lives anywhere, not even in Australia, possibly a couple of people in New Zealand, even know who our politicians are. So that's not something that you could look for on social media, but rather, I guess, to look for signs of Australian values, to show that they are exemplementing those nebulous values that we want so much. So, have you posted a tweet admonishing America for not putting gun laws into place moments after a mass shooting has happened? Have you done that? Then come on in. You just exhibited Australian values. Did you call someone a cunt unexpectedly, but in a friendly manner? Congratulations! You've exhibited Australian values, cunt! Come on in! Don't feel left out, locals. This isn't just an immigration issue. Certainly not. This isn't a single party issue either. Oh, no. Enter ASIO. Hi, ASIO. What sort of fresh horrors do you have for us now? Well, back in July 2025, there was an extension of ASIO powers to detain suspects without judicial warrants and with limited access to legal representation, which was rammed through the House of Representatives in just 2 days, with the full support of government and opposition. And I thought opposition's job was to oppose. In another case of bipartisan unification to fuck the citizenry, like sort of if Voltron Lions came together and then decided to join forces with the monsters in order to take over Earth, Or if like the Planeteers summoned Captain Planet only for him to go ahead and decide the best way to save the planet was in fact to take the rings of his own creation, wear them himself, and lay out furious anger down on humanity for their inability to live in harmony with the planet that birthed them, and then begin a harmonious and yet furious reign of Mother Nature. By your powers combined, I'm Captain Fuck You! Legislation set to make ASIO's compulsory questioning powers permanent is before the Senate, after passing the lower house in mid-February 2026. February 2026? Shit, that's this year! Fuck! Oh no! That's not great, guys. It's not great. This time it is Labour championing the reform, as they continue their slow transformation into the very thing that they have fought against for many, many years. But, as we all learned from Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or you live to become the villain. And as the coalition grows into a giant multi-headed hydra of terrible opinions and suppression of democratic freedoms, but some of the heads are red and then some of the heads are blue, and despite sharing the same body, the heads will actually fight furiously for dominance, calling the other heads out of touch with the common man. It becomes harder and harder to express your distaste with the mighty beast, lest they send their minions and goons to take care of you. And it'll be much easier for said goonery after this legislation further broadens the scope of the nation's chief spying agency's ability to question non-suspects for up to 24 hours. The Australian Security Intelligence Agency Amendment Bill No. 2, 2025 seeks to make permanent a set of laws so controversial that they've been subject to a sunset clause ever since they were first introduced, and despite that, have been debated and renewed every 3 to 5 years. So presumably, members of Parliament are just looking to make their job more efficient by skipping over the need to vote for the legislation again and again and again. Maybe? Is that the reasoning that we're putting forward for all of this? This does paint a clear picture of where the future of the country is going, as the legislation faced significant resistance from the then Labour opposition. But that's typical opposition behaviour. Loud, blustering anger when you aren't in a position to do anything, and then as soon as you get into power, do everything in your power to uphold the status quo, where the party you formerly fought against now tells you that you're going too far or not too far enough. And every decade or so you change roles just to keep the illusion of democracy alive. It's a fun game. It's real fun. Super fun. They also committed to this much faster than in the past, when there was at least 2 days of debate before the current amendment was passed, and the original ASIO Act amendment was debated for 15 months. So you can't say that the government isn't getting more efficient in very specific areas. Which will help when future budget cuts come up, because you'll notice some things, like NDIS funding, Centrelink, and Medicare changes, be they positive or negative, are debated furiously and at length, wasting hours and hours of taxpayer money for effectively no change. However, automatic renewal of invasive powers with no debate about how it will impact regular people, that is good value for money, baby! You'll probably want to know what these new powers will look like. And that's fair. Often like Jaws, the original Predator, and the original Alien, we don't get to see the form that our oppressor takes until it's too late. But when it gets literally shoved in your face again and again, like Jaws 3D, Alien Resurrection, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and the often overlooked Alien vs. Predator vs. Jaws vs. Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Smash Time Super Fight. Warrants to detain and interrogate need only have the approval of the Attorney General, who almost always acts on the advice of the security establishment, so that shouldn't be hard to obtain for them. And unlike police detention for suspected crimes, where suspects or persons of interest or any random person grabbed off the street can refuse to answer questions, those apprehended by ASIO are afforded no such rights. If someone detained by ASIO refuses to speak, that becomes a crime for which they could face a summary judgment and up to 5 years imprisonment. 5 years in prison for refusing to speak to ASIO. That's fucked. I believe refusing to answer the questions of a gang who just grabbed you off the street is your civil duty. Would I give you that advice in court? Frankly, you'll never find out. Because while lawyers are technically entitled to be present during questioning, and I am no lawyer, their ability to interact with and advise their clients is directed by the ASIO officers conducting the interrogation, which doesn't seem like a conflict of interest at all. No, certainly not. If I've learned anything over my years as a citizen, it is that the police have never once taken advantage of being given extra powers with little to no oversight. Why would we give them jobs where they can have such horrid and devastating impacts on people's lives if they can't be trusted? Right? Right? So, definitely no need to worry your weary little head that if ASIO decides the lawyer present at an interrogation poses a security risk, that lawyer can be removed. Certainly not going to be an issue for you. And do not even think of worrying your button nose and your dimpled cheeks that save for requesting clarification of questions or seeking a break to consult with their clients during questioning. Lawyers are not allowed to intervene in the ASIO interrogation at all. In effect, prohibiting a lawyer from advising their clients of their rights or guiding them as to how they may answer questions. And like the floors of the Severance building, while lawyers are permitted to take notes whilst present during interrogations, they are required to surrender those notes to ASIO officers prior to leaving the building in which the interrogation has been conducted. Just take a second to process all that information, hey? Because that's pretty crazy. There's more though. There's more. In some circumstances, the Attorney General can even impose conditions on warrants that give detainees no right to legal representation during questioning. Feels increasingly horrible. I think I'm getting back pain just hearing about it. But as it is also a crime for an individual to disclose to a third party that they have been detained and questioned in the first place, I hope you didn't have kids or a loving spouse or a job that was expecting you to show up at some point, as you will not legally be able to tell them what happened to you. So you'll have to face ASIO alone, regardless of if your lawyer is present or not. And as the old saying goes, if a lawyer sits in an interrogation room and doesn't make a sound, can they still charge billable hours? I hope you enjoy your representation from Schrödinger and Cat attorneys in theory. Really more witnesses than lawyers if you think about it. Because in this system, your legal representation exists sort of in a quantum state, both present and useless until observed. The moment they try to actually do anything, they collapse into a security risk and then they get removed from the room. So your defense is simultaneously there and not there, advising you and simultaneously not advising you, protecting your rights while quietly handing their notes over to the people questioning you. Which raises a real philosophical question. If your rights only exist when no one is looking at them, do they exist at all? So until someone opens the box, you're not a citizen or a suspect, but you are both guilty and guilty until observed, where then they can classify you as the correct kind of guilty. Though, don't get cheeky and don't plan on anyone actually ever knowing about it, as it will also be illegal for your attorney in theory to tell anyone that they definitely didn't witness you being questioned.